So hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
It's a little bit of everything.
What's your name, by the way?
My name, Caroline.
Yeah. Hey, Caroline. Russ. Nice to meet you. Russ and Alan.
Okay.
Have a good handshake.
Thank you.
Very good. All right.
Has to be
Pirate.
strong.
Yeah, like a pirate. I like
Yeah.
that. Pirate fan. I'm in good company. All right.
All right. So, how did you come up with the idea of the master classes?
Well, originally, I had I've done this before in Italy, and the motivation for that was to raise awareness for autism. My daughter's on the spectrum, and so it's a personal sort of mission for me to try and raise awareness around the world. And in Europe, Italy has the fastest growing number of cases.
Oh.
So when I was approached about doing it, then I had that motivation. Then, of course, I was approached by some friends down here to do the same sort of a thing, not with the same approach or cause, but since I had went and done it, I figured maybe this is something I want to try and do another place. And so this is the first time I've done it besides that. And a lot of people over the years have asked me to give lessons and things like that, and it's just something I never really thought I could do effectively. I just feel bad about taking people's money, if I don't feel I can teach them something. But I feel like now that I've been doing this for a really long time, I've learned a lot, and I want to share that knowledge with people. So the motivation to share it is strong because of where I'm at in my life and where I'm at in my career. Use it or lose it, they say. So while I still got it, I want to give it, and I want to start giving it to the next generation of entertainers that are coming up. So that's what I'm here to do, and that's why I came.
That sounds perfect. Do you think that process is a two-way street? I mean, you get to learn from them as well as they get to learn from you?
In a way, I mean, I learn more about doing the actual classes by doing them. So it's a learning process for me too. I have no plan, so to speak. The situations are different. Here in Argentina, there's a mix of fans and artists, and the next one I do in Chile is mostly just singers and artists. So it's more of a formal classroom situation. This has will be a little bit of a lighter feel, because fans, they're going to ask me all sorts of different questions about the songs and about the bands, whereas singers going to know how the hell do you do what you do, and the trick is to try and get them to another level. So every person's different, but I feel like if I can impart some knowledge to them on how to perform, then I'm doing my job to help them improve on their craft. And so it's a learning curve for all of us, but I'm excited. I'm not like your typical teacher, so. How
would you describe that? What do you mean, like, not typical?
Well, because most teachers, in the classical or the classically trained vocalist, the approach is all these exercises and just, you need to go do that with somebody before you come to a person like me. That's why I'm really not a vocal coach per se. I'm not, you need to come with a basic set of tools. Of course.
And then you have
before I can show you how to build a house, you have to come with the tools. And then I can kind of show you how to build the house.
Okay.
But I'm not, teaching children or whatever how to, la 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 la.
Okay.
If you can't hit an A, or whatever, there's not a lot I can do for you. In that sense, what I'm saying is the things I'm offering are more advanced, technical things, but they're also more advanced show and performance things. Like people often get hung up on too much of the technical stuff, whereas I take more of the approach of getting people to be confident in themselves, regardless of how well they feel they're singing the notes. It's how well they feel they're delivering the message. So that's really my mission, is to get people to understand that it's not about how you sing it, or it's not about the technical way you sing it, but it's about how you express yourself and how you translate that emotion of what you're trying to do to the people, to your audience. That's really what is important, and I like to focus more on that then how do you hit a high, hey look, that's not what I do. I do it, but if you've listened to my career over the years, I'm not a acrobatic vocalist. I'm a emotional power vocalist. So these are the things that I perfect, and I want to show people, the differences. And because not everybody that's coming to these things have the same set of tools, and that's a good thing. People are individual. Your uniqueness is what makes you special, and so I want to focus on that, and focus on getting people to understand themselves and be more confident in how they're performing.
Going back a little bit back in time, how did you first get in touch with music?
Well, it started for me at a really, really early age. My grandfather was an American country entertainer. He was on a very famous show in the 70s called The Gong Show. They're actually reintroducing it, but basically it was a 3-celebrity panel, and they would amateurs would come out and start performing for them, and if they sucked, they get the gong, and then they'd pull them off the stage. My grandfather was gone twice, but God rest his soul. But he started my journey. My mom and dad are also musicians. They played bluegrass. So growing up in my house, it was a music-filled house. Every holiday we'd get together, and some people are cooking turkeys. We did all that too. But after the dinner was done, we all sat around in a big room all night, and all my uncles and aunts and my cousins and my mom and dad, my grandma, grandpa, we'd sit down and play music all night. They would play till we fell asleep, because we were little, and then they'd just jam all night. We'd be out in the corner, and that was all country. Outlaw country music was a big deal. Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, all that kind of stuff is what my uncles were really into. And my grandfather liked more of the traditional stuff, the classic stuff, not the Elvis Presley era, but that's rock and roll. But technically, he started in country, so that sort of time, And that's how I started out. My first gig, I was 5 years old. My first time singing in front of an audience.
Really, 5 years
old?
Yeah,
5 years old. I got up and
little.
sang a song called "The Gambler," and then On the Road Again was another one that I used to do with my grandfather. So that's how it started.
Would you say that was the time that you say, I want to do this for the rest of my life?
Not really, no.
No?
I was having this conversation at lunch today. I started out, I definitely, had music in my blood, and it was always something a part of my family. But I love sports. I played American football, I played baseball, played basketball, played volleyball, and I lettered in a couple of them. What that means is in high school I got a letter because I played varsity sports, and that's kind of, I'm a team-oriented guy. So being in a band was something I always wanted to do, because a band is like a team. That's why a lot of people ask me, why didn't you become a solo artist? Like, why didn't you ever just kind of go out on your own and do your own thing? I've done projects and stuff, but I never went out and just said, hey, I'm Russ Lon, here's my band. And I did one record, 15, 20 years ago, which was a lot of fun, but it was more of an experimental thing to learn how to produce. I wrote, recorded, produced it, slightly engineered a little bit of it.
You're talking about Atomic Soul,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, Atomic Soul, right. So it was more of a learning thing for me to see if I could actually pull it off, but it wasn't. And
you did it.
Yeah, I did, but it wasn't a band, and I purposefully went as far away from the I don't want to say overproduced sound of Symphony X, but the polished sound of Symphony X, and do something completely raw and not that it wasn't mixed, but that record was very dry, so I didn't use any vocal effects. I want people to really hear me sing, Yeah. So the vocals are very hot on the album, and it wasn't mixed to be like a commercial thing, or it was done in a way to showcase what I could do singing-wise and songwriting. But other than that, I never really went and did my own thing. So when I started out, I loved sports, I loved that kind of stuff, and I was a locker room kind of guy. I was a jock, but I could sing, and so I was in choir. When I played school sports, for a little while I was captaining the team there, and I made all the lineman guys had to come to the choir recitals. They're all sitting there in the front row, all these big tough guys, I'm like, la 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 la. I mean, that's where I learned, I did like my formal music training was in school. I had great music teachers. I was involved in a ton of stuff, and that really broadened my knowledge of music. I learned my theory in school. I learned harmonies and stuff. I was in a barbershop quartet in high school, which was a lot of fun. They call it a dead art form, but it's just for male singers singing in harmony. You know,
I know.
everybody. You always think of the corny, a lot of rolls. You know, you know, like
comes
that kind
to
of
mind is like Mr. Sandman.
Well, that's not barbershop, but
It's
that
not?
was that was taken. That's 50s doo-wop, and that
Oh.
doo-wop sound that was made popular by those bands, those four guys, came from the barbershop stuff, which was really turn of the century. Like it's the guys in the straw hats with the mustaches and the striped shirts and the, you know, it's just a cappella. There's no band behind them, but that style became that doo-wop sound that in the 50s became so popular.
I don't sound too good, so that's why I didn't want to.
Oh, you sounded great,
No,
Mr.
no,
Sandman. Yeah. It wasn't like I thought it was Metallica or something. But so that's kind of how it all started for me. I was in sports in school, doing all that, and then I did some band stuff on the side. But I was always singing with my family and singing with my grandfather, doing shows on the weekends and stuff. And
you got to practice a lot.
yeah, it was something that I was doing with my family, and they were all in the country, so I started listening to these guys, and stuff.
And what happened then?
And then it just ruined my whole life, is what it did. No, it actually opened me up to all the rock and heavy metal, and then I started listening to Maiden. I started going down that road, then emulating all those guys in my singing. But the singing thing for me was always something that I just enjoyed doing. It was a natural sort of process for me. I didn't really have to work at it too hard. What I had to work at was doing it in a band, on a level where I could compete with the Marshalls, so it was all about projection, and so I learned that pretty quickly. It's like, whoa, these guys are loud, so, but I was a teenager then, and like most kids, wanting to get into a metal band, and there was two camps in my day. You were either a Priest fan or you were a Maiden fan. That was it. And the Priest guys wore their shirts, and they were on one side of the schoolyard, and the Maiden guys were on the other side of the schoolyard, and I was a Maiden guy.
Okay.
Love Priest, a lot of respect. I love Priest. Rob's probably one of the greatest singers ever to pick up a microphone, hands down. Early Priest I really love a lot. I just didn't really go for it when they got into the whole, the later stuff. I just stuck with Iron Maiden. I just love the Trooper. I love, the early records, Peace of Mind and Power Slave, and I just loved all that stuff. To me, they told stories. They had a great harmony. The Bruce Dickinson would do those great harmonies, and of course, the barbershop stuff. So I would hear those 3-part harmonies and hear harmony stuff that he was doing in operatic style, and really attracted me to heavy metal. Then I discovered Dio, and that's it. The rest is history, But I went through phases, like everybody. I kind of went through phases with
You have to explore.
And when I discovered Van Halen early on, I was really just all about them. But then I saw an interview where Eddie was talking about being influenced by this guy Jimmy Page. As one of the influences. Led Zeppelin. Like, I heard my uncle talk about that old band. I mean, and then you gotta remember I'm just like 12 or 13 at the time. So then I started picking up on them and listening to them. They became something I listened to more, actually, because they're Van Halen, for as great a rock band as they are. Later on with Sammy, they kind of diversified and they branched out. But Zeppelin from the beginning had a really cool, dynamic sound. They covered a wide spectrum of style, of sound. Jimmy Page was an incredible producer. You can argue this, that, and the other thing if you don't love them. I'm a Zeppelin fan, but everybody begs, borrows, and steals. I don't care who you are. It's all been done before. It's how you do it in your way that makes it original and unique. And anybody who says otherwise, they're full of shit. I'm just being honest.
All right. So if you had to choose, would you say that those 3 bands are the ones that have inspired you throughout the years?
For sure, Zeppelin,
Dio,
Van Halen, Maiden. I did get into Soundgarden. The late Chris Cornell was a great influence, really because he reminded me of those guys. When Chris came out, I used to cover all that stuff. When I was a kid, and they're all starting to break. I was a little young still. I was in my late teens when they kind of took off. He's a little old. He was a little older than me. I think he's about 3 or 4 years older than he was anyway.
Okay.
So basically, you know, they had an influence. Alice in Chains I really liked a lot. Again, because of the harmonies. Cantrell. I was always attracted to the bands with the harmony thing going on. Like when you listen to Down in the Hall and oh man, you know, Dirt's one of my favorite. I just love that. So that influenced me too at that time in my life. So I pulled. If you listen to early Symphony X, you'll hear a lot of that influence on the Damnation game. You'll hear a lot of it. You know, there's 3-part harmony stuff all over that place that's lifted directly from Alice in Chains. So kind of like where I was at the time influences me with my art, and that's why I continue to work and do things, working on different projects, trying to stay to stay active, keep my mind and my body and my spirit moving forward. You know, I mean, to me, you're either growing or you're dying. So my attitude is to keep going. I'm still singing better than I've ever sang in my life, and that I attribute that to being dedicated and also to being forward thinking. I don't look back too much in my career, in my life. I look forward. I look ahead. I look forward to things. And I only look back when I want to, see all the train wrecks though. But look back to enjoy the good times and remember the bad ones when to learn your lessons. But I never sit there and dwell too much on things. Well, if we would have done this, that record would have been great.
There's only one way forward.
That's right.
Okay, so you have participated in different projects besides Symphony X, such as Iron with Yolanda, Star One, and Adrenaline Mob. So how did you choose to participate in them?
Well, some of them chose me. Arjun's been a fan of mine for a really long time, even from early on. And I just really love. I got the Electric Castle record, and the introduction was made through our record company. I'm pretty sure it's Thomas Walber or somebody. If I can remember correctly, I'm screwing this all up. But back then, he sent me this record and wanted to know if I wanted to sing this Donovan Lane soul song, and I said okay. So he sent me this stuff, and I just loved that record. So because I love the music, and we talked, we hung out, and he liked Van Halen, Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin, and so did I. Hey. It
was a close deal.
It was easy because him and I had the same love of musical bands, so it was easy. That was an easy fit for me to fit into his music. I always loved Pink Floyd. Again, something that my uncle influenced me on. They were into the rock stuff. These things. Every time I'd get approached, I get approached a lot. By artists, great artists, and both established and up and coming and stuff. Want me to work with them on stuff and sing, but I'm really picky. I don't really do stuff half-ass. I never phoned in anything I was ever on.
Okay.
In other words, that saying means that I didn't do it for the money. I didn't do it for fame.
You do it for the harmony?
I do it for the harmony. Well, I do. I mean, it's a bit cliche, I guess, for some folks to feel like that. I do things to make money. I'm not going to say that I don't.
You have to live.
I have to live a life. I'm a professional singer, but I like to do it in my bands. The projects I don't really get that much money for. It's just something that I enjoy doing because I like to learn. Like we talked about learning. That's why I'm here, is to teach. I've learned so much by working with so many different artists. I was with Symphony X for so long, and I did nothing else. I did one solo record. I sang on Aryan's thing. I pieced little things over the years. We're talking 20-something years. The Adrenaline Mob thing was the first time I fronted another band in 16-something years, 17 years. But it seemed like I'd had so much, going on. But I really never sang with anybody else but Ariane. That was it. I never, did a show with anybody else until I did the Adrenaline Mob thing, and that became, that's a real band. So that's, like I said, I never went out and did my own thing. Now I'm here doing my own thing, but it's different. I'm doing a class. I'm teaching people how to do stuff. It's not like I'm here trying to do a solo band. I never went down that road. Even to this day, being in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, talk about a big team. That's a great team. It's a big operation. It's a huge operation. There's so many wonderful people that work, in in that camp to make that show happen, both in the band and the crew. And I learned a lot by being in that band for the past 5 years. And Paul O'Neill, God rest his soul. I know you're watching me, so he was a great mentor to me later in my career. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? Well, when I met Paul, he started to teach me a lot. And I was really open to it because I hadn't worked with a producer like that in a long time, since I was a kid. I did everything on my own. So when I finally got to work with him in the studio, it was a whole new process that I was unfamiliar with, which is exciting, nervous, racking, frustrating at times. But in the end, I got better. That's what it's all about, just getting better.
I have always been curious about one thing about Adrenaline Mob, the time that you got on stage with a bat. Is it because you like sports? It has to do with the name of the band?
Well, it's a bit of everything. I mean, obviously, I don't mind having some theatrical flair and things that I do. Adrenaline Mob's music doesn't really lean itself to that. It's ironic because Symphony X is completely that. I started wearing the masks, on the last album cycle, because I got to the point where it's like, well, look, this is what this band is. I'm wearing a mask, both figuratively and now literally, to show you that I am the characters I'm becoming in these stories. But it's not my story. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Adrenaline Mob, ironically, I do more theatrics in that band, but a lot of those songs are my stories, All the line has to do with me and how I was dealing with my daughter being diagnosed with autism, and my family and friends, and I was watching my friends lose their jobs. It was a really difficult time, in my life and the people around me. Crystal Clear is another one, You would think that there is more introspective work within that band, but I like to have fun with the mob thing. It's a lot of fun. People take shots at me and stuff here and there. The haters are going to hate, man. There's nothing I can do about it. But I love that bat because I used to play baseball, so I thought it'd be fun to knock T-shirts out in the audience. And I can, so I do. I don't know anybody that does that. Everybody has the cannon, whatever. Yeah. I thought, well, you know what? So I had fun. When we opened for Avenged Sevenfold, before the accident, I was like 3 for 3 every night. Every night, AJ, God rest his soul, I say that a lot these days, my friends are all leaving me, he would rap with rubber bands. He'd wrap a T-shirt for me and make the perfect ball. Because if it's an odd shape, I can't hit it, because as it spins in the air, if I can dang it off and it won't go. So he'd sit there before the gig, he goes, Russ, I got 3 more shirts for him. I'm like, okay, cool. So every time, because he's a big baseball fan. Okay. And he'd sit behind the kit and he'd play a little something in the middle of one of the songs, and I would start, throwing them and knocking them out there. I mean, knocking them into the second level, in the arenas and stuff. Oh. So there's that's why the bat thing kind of came into play. But it works with the mob stuff because, as you know, the mafia with the bats and, that terrible scene in Casino. I don't know if you've ever seen Casino, the movie Casino, with De Niro and those guys, and they beat him to death in the end with a baseball bat. It's horrifying.
Well, or an Orange Clockwork. Yeah,
exactly. Clockwork Orange is kind of where I got the hat from, and all that kind of stuff, the mafia thing. But I really do like the fedora and all that kind of stuff. I love that old school. If you punch the top up, I look like I'm in a barbershop quartet, right? But I have fun with the image of the band, and I want people to know, hey, yes, there's some heavy songs. Just King of the Ring is in one of the newest tracks, and it's about a fighter. It's about an MMA guy. Me and Mike are fans. I'm more of an old school boxing fan. Like I said, I'm a sports guy. Mike Orlando's more into the modern stuff of MMA, mixed martial arts, and all that kind of stuff. So that song, we're having some fun with it. But I'm not a boxer or fighter. But I'm 6'4". I'm 240 pounds. And I got some size to me, and I can jump around and whatever. But I just have fun with it. It's not like I'm taking it too seriously. So a lot of the stuff with the mafia thing is just us having fun with it. But we have all these things. We have all these videos we're going to put out. You guys will see that we have a lot of fun with. We did an initiation video with the new guys. It's you'll see. You'll get it. People will start to get it. But people take shots at me. I don't care. Bring it on. Whatever. You're gonna. What? I get these things.
Haters are gonna hate, so keep hating.
Well, I get a lot of hate.
You don't care. That's fine.
I don't really care. I get a lot of hate. Sometimes from the prog guys and stuff, and why are you doing that? They're just so upset. It's like, look, man. I enjoy what I do. If you don't like something I do, don't listen to it. Don't. If you don't like the way I look, close your fucking eyes. It's real simple. Look the other way. but you can't look away, can you? I got you, you know? I love it. It's great. I don't really care if people, you know, I'm not trying to generate hate, but at the same time, I don't mind if people are looking. I want people to look. I want people to listen to what I do. That's why I do it. I'm an artist, after all. This new record has some controversial points on it, you know, because it deals with the political situation in my country. And it's always a risky thing when artists take up that, take up that gauntlet and try and deal with the times that we're living in. But I'm not afraid to do that. And I'm not trying to take a side on anything, but putting the message out there that, you know, people need to realize the media is out of control. You know, we're responsible for our own lives, our own decisions. But the manipulation that's been going on for years now. Now it's just blatantly out there. In the past, we were talking about this earlier today. It was a little more clandestine, you know. But now everything is so polarized. You know, one side's pro-right, one side's pro-left, and they just war with each other. You know, and it's really, really difficult for us to really get a sense of what's really going on, because there's so much hate in the news. There's so much hate in the news.
Do you feel a responsibility as an artist to put that out there?
I in a way I do. I'm a father. My kids are going to come up in this world. I feel more responsible as a parent than anything else. Oh, okay. You know, I mean, as an artist, it just bleeds into the art because that's what I'm feeling, that's what I'm thinking. When I'm making a record, I look around me, I look for things that are going to inspire me. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you choose to look at it, these events were going on around me. And I see my kids growing up, and they're really young right now, but they're going to come up in this media-driven world. You know, my kids whip through my iPad better than I do, and they're like 6 and 7 years old. What's going to be available to them to view 10 years from now when they're in high school? You know, what's the world going to look like then? What can people? How many cut off heads are we going to be holding up for children to see? You know, that shit just is appalling to me. And I'm really happy and proud of the news, you know, agencies like CNN that dealt with that in what I feel is the right way. That whole incident was just, you know, completely uncalled for, you know. And if my daughter or son had seen that on TV, they'd be freaking out too, thinking that somebody killed Daddy. I mean, what the fuck's wrong with people, you know? Who the fuck thought that was cool? She did, or whoever put her up to it. I don't know. But that's where it's gotten to in America, man. It's like, wow, really? You're gonna do that? You're gonna put a severed head of the president on something and you're gonna tweet it? What the hell's the matter with you? That's what's going on in America. And it's just like, okay, enough. Somebody's got to put a stop to it. I'm not saying, you know, it's us or whatever, but I mean, we in the artistic community need to like say, okay, this isn't cool. Because when it's trendy to hate somebody, we've gone way too far. When it's trendy to hate someone to death, we've overstepped our bounds, and we're not sending the right message to the world. That's not what we should be doing, in my personal opinion. Other people disagree. They want to use the platform to further themselves, you know, so they feel more important. You know, I don't need to feel more important. I'm just here to entertain people. I want people to go away from the show thinking a little bit, but smiling at the end too. You know, I don't want to have people come to pay us money to go walk away and be like, you know, I want to kill everybody now. Fuck that guy. You know, I'm not here to breed hatred. You know, that's not.
To raise awareness.
Just to raise awareness, make people think. But again, the political messages in the music that we put out is really all about, you know, the tone of my voice is like, wake up, stupid. You know, I'm talking to the people, not, you know, the people are the problem in a way, you know, not the people themselves, but we get emotionally charged by what we see and what we're fed. If you keep feeding, you know, a dog blood, he's gonna hunger for more blood, you know. If you keep feeding the people blood, they're gonna thirst for blood, you know. Our media needs to stop feeding the people blood. And that's what I hope to see happen before my children grow up in a world where they're already polarized. They already hate right out of the gate, you know? And that's what's going on. And you know, everyone's watching this. Everyone, you guys, the whole world. And this conversation I've had in other interviews, because obviously it's something that the music is talking about. So I have to address it. And I have no problem doing that. But, you know, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I'm a pirate. Love me or hate me. But arr, you listening? Arr, you listening?
Just to relax things a little bit.
Oh.
So if you had to make a soundtrack for a movie, since we were
Yeah.
talking about Casino, A Clockwork Orange, which movie would you choose? I mean, up to you, completely up to you. If you have to pick one movie and you have to make the soundtrack.
A soundtrack?
Yes. Got
Oh
you.
man. One movie.
Yes.
Oh my God. Jaws. Actually, I would probably want to do Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I know how.
Any particular reason why?
Well, because his life goes through so many changes and so many facets of struggle. He faces all sorts of adversity. The entire movie, from his being crippled as a child,
Yes.
to going through the Vietnam War, to excelling and being in sports, chastised at first, but then hailed as a hero because he could run. But he wasn't the brightest guy in the world. But he always loved that same girl his whole life. And then when he finally got to be with her, she dies. And there's so many emotional ups and downs, and so many different things that you feel in that picture.
So you get to explore a lot of
Yeah,
things.
see, I would get to explore all those different varieties of emotion in one particular film. It's one of the greatest movies I think ever made, personally. And Tom Hanks' performance is brilliant.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm always impressed when comedic actors can turn that switch and really make you feel and make you feel a serious drama. And he's probably one of the best at it. Yeah, big fan of Tom Hanks.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for your time. I had a blast.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.